All right, welcome everybody to the USDN. This is going to be our Echo Route Party. So welcome everybody. This is to USDN, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. Here at USDN, we strive to bring you all the latest news and rumors, all right here in one place. And once rumors are confirmed, we slap them with that seal of approval. So with that, let's get this started.
It's a trap!
All right, everybody, welcome back. Let me introduce you to one of tonight's special guests, a Bill of the Pop Break. So let's welcome in Bill. Bill, welcome to USDN.
What's going on, man? I am very flattered and honored to be here. Given granted clearance to the USDN. Yes, my name is Bill Bodkin. I'm the editor-in-chief of thepopbreak.com. You may have also seen me on such things as the Bob Culture Podcast. And I am, speaking of podcasts, I'm the co-host of the Socially Distanced Podcast, which you can find every Friday on all your favorite streaming platforms. I am the Bill in the Bill versus the MCU podcast, which is my first watch podcast for Marvel since I was the original Marvel burnout. And we are currently, our new season starts in February. We're going to be talking we're going to be doing all the X-Men movies up until Deadpool's release. And then finally, you can find that on Pop Break Today, and then Pop Break TV, where we do TV Break, which is our insider look at all things TV, the streaming wars, the brand new episodes that have dropped for new series. We're talking about everything over there on Pop Break TV, and of course, thepopbreak.com. Doing this for 15 years, talking about all things pop culture, from pro wrestling to Marvel and everything in between. Joining us soon will be my socially distanced podcast co-host, Amanda Rivas, who is also the co-host of the Anime Pop podcast over on Pop Break Today. I have a lot of plugs and I can keep going all day. I am also simulcasting AEW Dynamite while I do this, and I can see it out of the corner of my eye that my boy, the big mustache Hangman Adam Page, taking on Penta El Zero Miedo in all white. So that means hopefully
Somebody's bleeding.
I certainly hope so. But Jeff, again, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for always sharing all the stuff on Pop Break. I found out you've been a Pop Break reader for way longer than I've known, so that's really cool. Like I said,
I really have. So for me, it was one of those where I tuned into the BCP the first time, and there's a Bill Buck in there, and I'm like, wait, is that the same one? And then you mentioned it, and I was like, well, I'll be damned. But you're being modest right now. You forgot to mention a key part of who you are, and that is
I'm a dad, which is great. I have a 9-year-old daughter. She's awesome. But I know you're going to mention probably that I'm a BCP Hall of Famer, which is a weird honor that Rob bestowed on me. Rob's a good friend. He's a good brother. We've been through the best of times. We've been through the worst of times, which did lead back to the best of times. And I've been really proud to watch the Bob Culture Podcast go from a local music podcast based out of the Jersey Shore to what it is today, a full-fledged digital pop culture magazine. Gee, I wonder where you got that idea from. But also one of the best podcasts that celebrates all things independent wrestling.
He is good, and I wasn't going to let you be in a Hall of Famer slide. Yeah, we were getting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's still weird. I'm only 42. Don't let the gray hair fool you guys. I mean, I was much younger when, much younger when Pop Break started, and much less married and much less busy in life. But
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Amanda is in the house finally. We had some technical difficulties. We all did today getting in, so let's bring in Amanda.
Hi guys, I am so sorry.
I haven't
You were
seen
good.
you in so
It
long,
happened
dude.
to all of us
I
tonight. I had
know.
problems getting on too.
Yeah,
It seems
I
like
was.
yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I was like, camera wouldn't turn on, mic wouldn't turn on, and I'm like, what is happening here? And so I'm like, I'm just gonna reboot my computer and hope for the best.
Well, you're here now. We got you in.
Thank you again for
Bill
having
did give
me.
you a good introduction.
I mean, I didn't give her the full intro. I didn't give her the full introduction, which goes places and it involves way too many inside jokes for one podcast. But
We'll save that intro for another show.
she is, she's the pod mother. She's the Padme Amidala of anime, the human Star Wars encyclopedia, the master of the Amanda on a pole match, everyone's favorite emotional woodpecker, which is tying back to our Echo episode.
Hey, yeah, there you go.
I've done this a few times, so I'm pretty. Amanda and we're on a mini tour right now.
We are
getting out there. It's like our Oscar push, and we're getting out
I
there.
am happy to say I'm y'all's last stop this week before you go back out on your own to do your own things.
We saved the best for last, man.
Yes.
Hey, you're gonna make me blush. You're gonna make me blush.
I don't know if we can see your cheeks in order to blush, but all right.
Well, I mean,
you Fitz
it's
magic.
still red like right here and like right here. The rest of it's gray.
I just think that's the alcohol talking. So.
Oh no, I'm on water. I'm a water guy.
There we go.
Or coffee. I drink a lot of coffee.
Same. I love my good cup of coffee.
I function on coffee and nicotine.
There you go. I'm like, don't talk to me unless I've had coffee. Right off the bat in the morning, no coffee happens.
I just rather most people don't talk to me in the morning. I don't care if I've had coffee or not.
I mean, I kind of have no choice though. People have to talk to me in the morning, and I'm like,
yeah. So Amanda does the anime podcast over at the Pop Break. So we will be seeing, fingers crossed, more of both Bill and Amanda on future shows here at USDN. And yes, Bill is always a true inspiration.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Keep that emotional woodpecker in check. We're going to get to that woodpecker. That's where we are.
That's something else. But yeah, that is something I accidentally said on our Echo podcast talking about this. And when I said it, I'm like, well, I can never live that down again.
No, but that happens a lot on our podcast. So random stuff happens, and we're just like, we're just rolling with it.
It's not a podcast.
No, we really stack them up, Amanda. So
we do.
That's another joke from another podcast. So.
Yeah, head over and subscribe. We'll get all the plugs in at the end of the podcast today. But right now, let's roll into Echo. I know y'all have already covered Echo over at the Pop Break.
Yeah, man.
I usually like to let a show marinate and then come on and do a podcast. So that's what I did. I let Echo marinate, gave it a couple of weeks for people to watch, and then now we're here. Let's roll right into Echo. So we will start off with her backstory. We'll give you the backstory that IMDb gives everybody. So the backstory goes: Maya Lopez, whose ruthless behavior in New York, catches up with her in her hometown, where she must face her past, reconnect with her Native American roots, and embrace the meaning of family and community if she ever hopes to move forward. So, what y'all think about the backstory that was really given to that from Disney and, I guess, Marvel, the Marvel Spotlight series is who wrote that.
You peek over it? Okay. Yeah. Well, the backstory sounded intriguing to me. I had, already the trailer was outstanding. I was like, okay, I'm hooked. I like this ruthless, kind of just the attitude she brought in. And I mean, she was a cool character already coming in from Hawkeye. So, it's like, I also really liked the incorporation of, kind of her Native American heritage. I think it's always really neat when done well, when a culture is incorporated. And I had just come up fresh off of watching What If season 2,
Yes.
and
Yep.
with Kalahari fresh in mind. And so it's like, okay, this is an additional way. I was even more excited, if you will, to go down and learn more about Echo because of what I had seen in What If season 2, and then for Hawkeye. So it had a lot of the elements I look for in shows. Again, I'm here for the action. I'm here for, again, neat little kind of cultural Easter eggs, and then, again, the family part of it. It's always important too. It's very well rounded.
Absolutely. And Disney really did good by this series. They went out and they did the research and did all those things to really incorporate the Native American culture into the TV series. So kudos to Disney and Marvel for going out and doing that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like it really added to the depth and the richness of the character and community. Like we've seen, like, there's a lot of, which I'll be doing on TV break. I've never watched Reservation Dogs, but I mean, there's so many people from Reservation Dogs who are on the show, but also just coming off of it was a little worried. I think they were a little worried here because you had this character that was not the most well-known comic character coming off of Hawkeye, being maybe the third or fourth most important character on the show. I mean, a scene stealer when they were in it, but what were people talking about? They're talking about, okay, Hawkeye's done. When's the next Young Avengers thing? Is Daredevil coming back? And then we're getting to Echo.
Well, they did kind of spring Echo on us.
For sure.
They did.
And so I think that was their worry a little bit, like, what are we going to get here? And I think Marvel did the right thing by making it a spotlight and saying, okay, we're going to steep this in the Daredevil, Netflix Defender saga style. And I think that worked really well because, I mean, we'll get to it later, how the Marvel of it all was, I think, what Amanda and I were both like, yeah, I don't know if we really needed that, but we'll get into that later.
No, absolutely. I mean, we got a nice little show planned out here for us. With that being said, y'all want to roll into the comic book and how it differed from the TV series?
Sure.
So she did make her first appearance in comic books in Daredevil number 9 in 1999, which in comic book years really wasn't that long ago. And she went on to become a crucial member of the Avengers and New Avengers teams, which is she's never, from my knowledge, ever gotten her own comic book run until recently when they announced the TV show. I could be wrong on that because I just got back into comic books within the last couple of years.
Same.
Yeah, it's I haven't touched the comic book, at least for Echo. I know a little bit about her, but I have not read the comics.
So there's a question in the chat. I don't know if I'm supposed to read it or not, but I'll do it.
I'll read it. Did either of you have an expectation of Echo based on Hawkeye and or What If?
I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, she was ruthless in Hawkeye, and that's really who she is.
Yeah, she stole the show in Hawkeye. That was such a cool that was such a cool moment in the series.
Yeah, but again, I was worried. Like, my worry was it's just like how much, like, were they gonna get cold feet halfway through it? And I'm really glad they didn't, because they really stuck to a family story for the most part of the story, like Amanda said, and that turned out to be some of the best stuff there. So
it did, yeah.
But my expectation from What If was, I was wondering, since Debbie Jacobs was the voice of Kahori in What If season 2, we're like, well, is this somehow going to tie into this, or will she?
That's what I was.
Echo's powers or not, which I know is coming up, where Echo's powers, maybe that's going to differ, and maybe there's some sort of link between those two.
And I can see them doing that. I can see them eventually bringing the two together. But we'll see. That I'm pretty sure Marvel has a plan, I hope.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Kalahari because she is a completely original character. So they really can incorporate her wherever they see fit, is the way I look at it, because there's no precedent for her.
Blank slate, no comic books, no nothing as of right now. I read an article that they were planning on comic books later. I'll probably say later this summer we'll see her first comic book hit the shelf.
We did. I mean, we're already seeing a new Thunderbolt series, which
Mhm.
I'm reading through, but it is different from the films. But so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Kevin Feige is in charge of Marvel Entertainment now, so like everything's kind of everything's got to run through him. So I'm not shocked that we're going to see some of these MCU originals like getting or MCU updates getting new titles coming up.
Oh yeah. So with that, the when it comes to her Native American heritage in the TV show, she is being reflected as being a member of the Choctaw Nation, but in the comic book, she was the Blackfeet Nation from Montana. So that was one of the what I felt was like a major change to actually who she was, because it is really two different things there. So
I'm curious. I wonder why they did that. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it was just like the one group was like, no, we don't really want
and that's
this.
kind of what I was thinking is like they contacted them and they're like, yeah, we don't want to really be out in the media that way. So
Yeah, I wonder about that too because it is. I mean, they're two completely different, you know, tribes and nations, and so it's a delicate line to walk. But that's what I wonder too if they didn't get permission. Or the other thing that crossed my mind was I wonder if this was just Disney's attempt. This is a Disney kind of more so to be different from Marvel, or at least to kind of get away from the comic book a little bit. Um, I'm not sure, but
yeah, it's one of those. It kind of made me scratch my head and go, but why? I mean, it's been established. I mean, I said 1999 wasn't that long ago in comic book years, but in reality, it's quite a while. So
yeah.
So I thought it was maybe because it was Alaqua Cox and like that's her background that it was sort of like, okay, we're gonna go with her, but it's not.
see,
So I was like, all right,
Oh,
that
I'll
would
give
make
it a
sense.
shot.
That would make sense too. It's just one of those where I scratch my head on that one and go, okay, cool, but why? I'm always a why guy when it comes to that kind of stuff. When it comes to like the comic book characters being portrayed into movies, and it's like, well, I've read that comic book. Why did they do it that way? That's not the story. Or why are they combining these three stories into one story? And that's always been my argument with DC movies, Marvel movies, what have you. But that's a whole nother show for a whole nother time. So in also one of the big differences is when Maya shoots Kingpin in the Marvel comics, she returns home to explore her roots in the TV series. However, in the comic book, she travels. Like she just goes about. She meets Wolverine, befriends him. He helps her recover and teaches her Japanese culture, customs, about organized crime, and it really
What a
became
teacher.
like a
I
mentor to
know.
her.
He was like, let me teach you about Japan. Here's the mob. Let's go.
Yeah,
Where was that class at Rutgers University, guys? Come on. Would have taken that.
that's a good question. But it's one of those where they were like, "Oh, she just goes straight home." No, she actually, she kind of made her rounds through the towns there. I mean, she
I,
ran into Wolverine, so
She made the town. She worked the territories.
yeah,
exactly,
there you go.
exactly.
She was a good brother, and we didn't even
I
know.
always got to reference it back to the territories.
Well, I can definitely see why Marvel would pull any mention of Wolverine out because they're really, I think, just trying to hold. I feel like they're just trying to hold him for the big reveal when we get to the X-Men in this.
Yeah, he's a huge part of Miss Marvel too. There's
Yeah.
a great comic series, and they actually call back to it in the new Aman Vellani run, where she meets him in a sewer, and they
Mhm.
fight a huge alligator. Like Like, it's great. I mean, that, give me Hugh Jackman and Amon Villani fighting a CGI alligator. Shit, I'll
take
put me
that
in an
all
alligator.
day.
I'll be
Yeah.
an alligator suit. I've done it before in high school. Long story of my history playing animals in musical theater in high school. But
So you're telling us you're Wolverine?
No, he's telling us he's got a secret history of being a furry.
No, I'm telling you, listen, if you need someone to pretend to be an alligator, I can do it. Also, I used to have longer hair, so I definitely looked like Wolverine at one point. But no, I've never been a furry. That's one thing I'm definitely going to put out there to the world so they know that. And I'm very proud to say I have never been. No judgment, but not for me,
you
guys.
didn't say that. You said you've had an experience playing animals.
In musical theater in high school at an all-boys Catholic high school. There's more jokes you can write in there than me being furry.
I was like, you're not helping yourself out at
No,
all.
no, trust me. The Catholicism of it all, which we'll get into Daredevil soon enough. That alone fucks me over. You know what I mean? Come on.
Let's take that hole a little deeper there, real.
So this is going to come.
Kelvin actually said that, so that's something they're wondering why they're holding on to that. But Wolverine's not actually out in the MCU yet. Not until July 26th.
Well, yeah.
That mustard yellow suit, I should say, is coming out real soon.
July 26th.
And we're going to see our first trailer for it Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep. It finished wrapping today. There was something else that finished wrapping today, too. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head.
Daredevil started Monday.
Yeah.
Daredevil did start on Monday. Yeah, you're right.
And listen, you could judge me for being Catholic. It's fine. Black Mac, I appreciate that.
Hey, a man's faith is a man's faith.
I know. Trust me. I make fun of it all the time.
So you can do that because you're of that faith. I'm not.
No, man. I mean,
I'll let Amanda roll
we're
with
the same. We're
we don't care.
We don't
Catholics.
care.
We're Catholics.
Yeah, exactly.
We know.
We make fun of ourselves. It's okay.
It's like, fuck it. But yeah, we could. I mean, listen. I played a goat. In one, I played a horse.
So you really can't say you were the goat.
I can't say that.
I could not let that pass.
I was the goat, man.
He is a goat.
And that was 1997.
Literally and figuratively a goat.
Hey, Tom Brady, kiss my ass.
Hey,
as a New York Giants fan, I
did beat him to the Hall of Fame.
I did. True story.
So one of the biggest I felt differences in, even with Hawkeye, is that the original Ronin was actually Echo, and then it was later on taken up by Clint when he went on his killing spree. So that was another big one that I felt was like, okay, we got Hawkeye and the Ronin, we got Maya / Echo and Hawkeye fighting the Ronin, which it kind of discombobulates the timeline of those things, considering she was the first one to bear the mantle of the Ronin. But
now that you say it, wouldn't that be pretty cool if she returned and she picked up the Ronin costume or modified or took it? I know Clint burned it in his lovely barbecue, but I mean, listen, guys, costume designers exist. Exactly. So
and then
I could see
armor being incorporated into that.
I was about to say she's got the newer gear. She could probably make her own Ronin outfit, or with the new one she's got.
Listen, we don't know how good of a costume designer Biscuits is.
This is true.
And I mean,
you leave my boy Biscuits alone.
Listen, I'm saying, what if Biscuits is like the dude from Daredevil who made the Daredevil costume? I'm just trying to give Biscuits another payday, brother. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get him an envelope.
We just need more biscuits. We need more biscuits in our
life.
But yeah, I just wondered. I figured they were going to take Echo out of. I mean, we see this happen a lot with adaptations, where they're going to mess with the timeline to kind of just to make everything fit the current narrative, and the different phases that are being built each time. So, in this, even though it was a big deviation from the comic, it still works, at least in the way and the frame that Marvel has kind of built everything so far. And I mean, at least they still, she still encounters Hawkeye and Clint, but it, again, it's just the change of the narrative still works in a strange way.
And this is one of those instances where it does work because he had already been established in the timeline as Hawkeye. We do see him and Hawkeye as the Ronin, so it makes sense. And then seeing her show up when he is the Ronin, so they can always be like, "Oh, well, he found the suit and picked it up."
Yeah.
So I mean, they can go back and play with that.
Or they kind of revisit that in another multiverse that we're getting, maybe like another what if, or they kind of again, we may see another phase where we go and we do see the Echo that everyone is familiar with in the Ronin outfit.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be mad.
No, I feel like maybe they're saving it for that, or maybe we'd even get like a what if where she does meet Wolverine.
Well, apparently we're getting a Gundam wing and what if season 3.
Yes,
so
I was excited.
Let's do it.
Like the season 3 trailer, like it's like season 2 ended. Like let's drop fire on them right now while the fire is hot. And it's like they just threw gasoline on the what if fire and was like, boom, here you go. Like, yeah.
They're walking through a pit of danger right now, so let's do it.
Hey, roll the dice. So another one of the differences from the comic book to Marvel was her mother died in a car accident when she was a child. However, in the comic book, it was her father who died by the Ronin when she was an adult in the TV show, but in the comic, she was a child still. But however, it didn't matter how it played out, whether you do it that way or that way. Kingpin still adopts her and brings her in and basically raises her. So I mean, at least they got that.
Yeah, I was about to say that's probably the most key aspect is, as long as she was raised by Kingpin and you have that relationship there, that I feel like is the most important thing. If they had deviated that from that completely, people would have been upset.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
they still did it. It's just how they did it. They kind of just like reversed it.
Well, and they still gave a very intense death scene too, where I mean, again, with what happened in Hawkeye with her and her dad, and even just revisiting that even though yes, he was obviously enrolled in a life of crime, your heart still went out. That scene still
it's
hard to watch, and I think with that execution of it, you still get the intent across. Is she's lost her dad, and then of course she lost her mom when she was young, and just even to go from that perspective as a child to see and to hear the heartbeat, or like feel that or sense that was just that was a lot emotionally. So I think as long as that comes across and you get that feeling that she's lost, and then Kingpin fills that void in his own twisted way, as we come to find out. But
she refers to him as uncle throughout the entire TV series. She looked at him as that father figure.
Maya. I was he said
that was actually really good.
Sounds like a volcano. But
Diet Coke you were just drinking is kind of like right there.
That's years of Irish whiskey just scorching the old vocal cords.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. It's gonna haunt me later. But I think one thing about comic book adaptations is unless you have a very famous, very specific origin story, like it's okay to tweak it a little bit. Like we don't know Echo so well. Like so, if you're a hardcore Echo fan, like you're gonna take umbrance with this. But
how many of those are there?
You know what? It honestly, to me, it doesn't matter. Like I feel like even if there's one, someone's out there who's gonna be like, you changed this. But so many book adaptations, like how much stuff has been changed from page to screen. I mean, look at The Shining, like the Kubrick film versus what Stephen King wrote, and then when Stephen King stuff went to ABC. Whereas, like, you have my wife always talks about it's like topiary is like moving. It's like that's a little silly, you know what I mean? On the page, it's frightening. In this, it's just like, oh, there's a CGI tree moving. Okay, this is really bad. Where's Jack Nicholson, please? But with this, I think you could switch it, but like you couldn't switch like the uncle. They did it with Spider-Man a bit, which was fine, but they also like you can't get rid of Steve Rogers being frozen in ice. You can't not have Matt Murdock be blinded. You can't have the Hulk not go through what the Hulk went through, or Thor not have Loki and Odin. You know what I mean? But with Echo, you can play with it a little bit. You have a little bit of leeway because you do have like that is not as well known. Even the Guardian stuff, I think they changed Guardians. Like those aren't the original Guardians. Like, but they changed them up. They changed some origin stories. They did a little tweaking here and there. But I think we're all the better for it.
And that's what's great, and what I've always loved about. Yeah, I'm not a fan of when they do it, but that's what's great about the comics is that you can do it.
Yeah.
And within comics, there's so many. How many? I just got back into it. How many number ones there are right now, and how many new visions of this character? Like, there's a Daredevil comic that was not long ago that was out where he was a priest, and now there's one where he's in black armor. So I mean, it's like literally.
Think about Spider-Man right now too.
Yeah, I was about to say Spider-Boy.
Spider-Boy just dropped like last week or the week before, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
like
I have the second book. Yeah, it's like it's all different, man. It's like everyone's meeting in different places, and sometimes even within their own issue. Like Spider-Boy is like doing this one thing where he's trying to hide, and then in the second part of the issue, he's at the Thanksgiving Day parade with Squirrel Girl, and you're just like two different artistic styles, and you're like, okay, so it's all gravy, man. I know, but I mean, but I think like if you're like a hardcore fan of something, you could take a little umbrage with it. But I also think you need to realize like not everything is apples to apples when it comes to adaptations.
Yeah,
and also I think too that it's a really cool thing when you see people who maybe have never seen Echo before, never heard about Echo. They watch the show and they're like, oh, she's a comic character. Okay, let me go check out the comic. And so it would be so I think that there's even though yes, it's an adaptation, at least if it can encourage people to go check out the comic, and dive into, and if they want to read more about her, they can. And I think that's a really cool thing when there's a lot more people now that again who I had never heard about Echo before, and now they're exposed because of the show. So I think it's a great way to get someone exposure, as well, a character that's lesser known exposure. So people are like, this is really cool. So I think that's a cool thing about like a show like this, is that it put a new hero in other people into the forefront instead of everybody that we know and love. Thor Stan over here. Well, Chris Hemsworth Stan, really, so
another thing that I really like is that people will see the character and that drives them to their local mom and pop comic shop.
Yes.
And then they get exposed to more, and now they're hooked. And now your local mom and pop places get to keep the doors open longer. They get to feed their kids. They don't have to worry about their electric bills. I mean, the comic book industry was almost dead pre-COVID. And then COVID happened, and between the tabletop gaming and comic books, all of a sudden comic book stores are thriving once again. And it's kind of been, I think it's finally like leveled out now, and they're still like riding good highs, and people are going back in, and like it's terrific to see.
Yeah, I do it once a month with my daughter. I used to do that. They like at the same exact age as her with my dad, going to a local comic shop, looking at cards, looking at figures, looking at comic books, and she picks up a couple, I pick up a couple, and it's a lot of fun. And like I subscribe to Marvel Unlimited now, so I can go back and read a lot of the old stuff, and I read on my iPad, but I still pick up like a couple physical copies of new stuff, like Thunderbolts, which I'm reviewing on Pop Break. I'm going to do it till the first, and that's like the first run of a book I've done since I was 10.
I've read it. So. It's actually quite good, Bill.
Yeah, it's very good. Thanks. Oh no, I meant the comic book. My review. I'm saying like the comic book is really awesome.
I've read the comic book too.
Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. So that I think like there's a lot of us who are getting back into it, and then we're passing it down as Amanda and I do. I don't know if you're a dad or not, Jeff. So as Amanda and I do to our children.
I got a senior in high school. Most of my bots at my local comic shop is my daughter's stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I went like this, I'm like, I can't imagine my child as a senior in high school.
Yeah, I'm mentally blocking that out with my child growing up. No, not ready for all the conversations, all those things.
We're doing college visits. We're getting acceptance letters.
Not ready.
I mean, best of luck to you and your daughter.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's like I wasn't stressed enough as it was because she just started driving, but now we're doing college on top of it, like back to back, and I'm just like,
Yeah, mentally blocking that out, not ready.
So comic books are awesome.
Yes.
Comic books, absolutely. Smack. I don't
But
want to hear.
but that's the thing. Like what you're seeing with comic books too is like we just watched Hawkeye like 4,000 times over Christmas. My daughter's now upset. My daughter's obsessed with Kate Bishop, and so she wanted Kate Bishop comics, and I went out and I got them for her a couple, and then it's like I download some stuff off the Marvel app for her, and that's where it is right now. It's really translating.
Blackback, you're not helping.
Hey, no, wait until they get married. I mean, I wasn't married that long ago.
College. I love those kids, man. I love being an uncle to his kids. It's great. I get to watch them grow up and not have to worry about anything else.
There you go. Yeah, I'm that way too with my
But yeah,
kids.
my daughter, she's into the Gang Wars right now from Marvel.
Nice.
And so
I don't know what that is. I know Gengar the Pokemon.
Well, she loves him too.
Yes,
But that's another show for another time. But yeah, Street Wars is like the street level.
Oh, Street Wars. I thought you said Gengars.
That's
and
what
I was like,
too. I was
I'm like, wait a second. Is there a whole bunch of superpowered Pokemon in Marvel?
My bad. Let me put my Alabama away.
No, Gang Wars is that's one I'm gonna get once it's like into the app, and I'm gonna like read that. Or they put it into a collection. I think I'm waiting for that for a collection.
She is not. She read the first one online, and she was like, Dad, go talk to Scott down at Atomic and make this happen for me. I just said, okay. I can't be mad. She's reading. And that's what you don't realize is like your kids ask for comic books and they ask for manga. They're reading. Why are you going to be worried about your kid reading?
That's my son's preference, actually. He doesn't care for regular like traditional books. He's like, I want to read like a manga, or I want to read. Now he reads comics. Like I'll let him pick his own comics, and he's reading.
It's beautiful. It's great.
And then I make him read subtitles. So we watch our animes in sub. So he has to practice reading the subtitles, so he knows what's going on.
My reading comprehension sucks, and I'm the same age as Bill, and it's a thing.
It sucks being.
And I'm from Alabama, so my education ain't that great to begin with.
But I used to work at a bookstore, and like when I was a kid, and no kids didn't really outside of Harry Potter, no one bought books. Now I see more and more. You're seeing. Sorry, they just announced Bryan Danielson and Yuji Nagata for Collision. All thoughts went out of my head. I'm sorry.
Getting DVR'd this week.
So I think that you see kids reading so much more. Like Percy Jackson's huge. So many kids are reading Percy Jackson.
Yes.
Right now. And by the way,
the show is great.
It's a good show.
So
Amanda, you will love it. Well, Adam Copeland's in it.
Yeah. I started watching the first episode. I will get back to it.
The darkest one possible.
It can't be as dark as True Detective though.
Oh no.
Oh no, there's a distinct lack of frozen male genitalia in Percy Jackson.
Yes, Kimberly, you may want to see it. Maybe just sometimes it's just a preference. It was easier for my son, and he was more engaged. My son does have ADD, so that also I think it held his attention span longer to read comics, and even now he's starting to with manga. Like he's not super great at manga, but he is enjoying it because it's like he's reading some of the One Piece ones. Although awesome. I do watch where he's going with it because I know it will get a little intense, but at least if he can read a volume or two,
as long as he's not trying to throw punches from way over here,
Yes. Well.
Yeah, I mean, he is.
He is. Well, he's also casting. He's also doing casting air right now. He's an airbender at the moment with Aang, so that's where he's at.
It's almost time for that too.
I know. I'm here for it. I'm ready.
Hey, I love it when I hear kids reading the comments, man. That's
exactly.
And then Black just became a Potterhead, by the way. He was a little late to the party on the becoming a Potterhead.
I'm waiting for that in my house.
Yeah, so Kimberly, give us comic books to try and the manga try, and I bet
and they do have more child appropriate, like easier reading level comics that you can find.
There's a whole section at most comic stores. They have a whole section dedicated to kids, from Ninja Turtles to Batman and Scooby Doo. It's great because I get Batman and Scooby Doo too because I watched that as a kid. So whenever
Oh,
I see Batman and Scooby-Doo come to a comic book, I was like, oh, childhood.
Yeah, there's also in a lot of bookstores like a Barnes and Noble, they have like more like graphic novels and stuff like
Right.
that. There's a great one, Marvel one, where it's about Peter Parker has to babysit all the pets of all the superheroes, and
Mhm.
it's a very visual read with not a ton of words, but it's so engaging visually. I read it in like 20 minutes, and it's a really good seller. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So that might be a good one for your son to check out too. There's a lot of bookstores that are really specializing in this stuff. I think you'll definitely find something cool
And like
for
I
him.
said, most comic book stores have a whole kids section.
Yes, some of them do. And that's really cool. I'm excited for that because it's passing down to the next generation. Oh, same. I'm an Archie fan.
I'm a fan
So
of
my
the
mom.
Archie horror. Like Archie horror stuff is like top shelf stuff for me. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom still has a lot of her old Archie comic books.
You probably can sell that for like a mint, dude.
She didn't always take good care of them, but yes, she probably still could make a good amount of money from them.
Doesn't matter. I've seen stuff sell for ridiculously prices, and it's like how. But let's get back into Echo, guys.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
tangent there. So in the MCU, it was the Ronin who killed Maya's father. However, in the comic book, Kingpin killed him. And then he told her that it was the Daredevil that did it.
Yes.
That was a big
Yes.
deviation there, but it doesn't affect with the story that we're getting currently playing out with Echo and what I think we're going to get again with the new Kingpin story coming out in the new Daredevil. So I think it's going to be a nice mesh when Daredevil hit the streets. So
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. I really am looking for. I still haven't seen season 3 of Daredevil. I'm gonna, after I get through my homework assignments for socially distance and all the other podcasts. So in like next year, I'll get through Daredevil season 3. I love the first 2 seasons, and I'm very excited for the arc they're gonna take with Kingpin here.
Oh yeah. See, I know we're gonna get to it. I think we're gonna be talking about Echo and Daredevil, and I'm curious to see how that goes further. We got their initial interaction in the show with that pretty cool fight scene, you know.
well, it's funny that they're fighting now. They became lovers later on.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's gonna happen. I guess it's because of a
Listen.
timeline issue. But I mean, I don't blame her if she goes after Charlie Cox. I like my
Maddie's
short kings.
old Matt, as Stick would call him, old Maddie. He's not bright when it comes to the ladies. So he
But
gets.
he's charming though.
I
Like
know, but he always goes for the wrong one, and it's
Oh,
just
She-Hulk was bad for him.
no.
I
That was
liked
good.
them together.
Listen, as
That
someone
was
who married an attorney, I can tell you he made the right choice. But normally you're just like, Matt, God, dude, like just get it together, keep your head in the game. But then again, Maya, I don't know, she suffers no fools. So I could see like a little late, like he tries something and she's just like,
no, we ain't doing
nah.
that.
Yeah, I don't think in this timeline I could see them. I'm curious to see if Disney tries, like Disney Marvel tries, but I think the way that they've built up both characters, I don't know necessarily if they would actually hook up or not. Again, would I turn down Charlie Cox? I mean, I like my short kings. We know this.
You do stand a
I love
short
my
king.
I have my short king at home.
Nobody's judging. He's a nice guy. I like him.
Oh, thank you. To
He
you
was great.
guys, he's nice.
He was great on Loki season 2. I loved him.
That's an inside joke because I'm staring at you like, what are you even talking about?
Just go back to Loki season 2. Just watch for a certain character, and you'd be like, "Oh, I get it."
All right, I got to do that now. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, she should be in Daredevil.
I think she has to. But there
She
was
has
also a
to.
question if White Tiger, like I had
So,
heard rumors that
rumor
White Tiger is Jenna
right now
Ortega.
that White Tiger showing up. There's I know they confirmed it today from CBR. Got the article that Bullseye is showing up. So,
Everyone reported that one, like every major outlet reported, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and even the Crime Guild from what I read in the show. I mean, it's tied to Bullseye.
Yeah, and we're damn it, Bill. But yeah, there's a couple other ones that were tied back to this. Like there was the rumors that Foggy and Karen are coming back as well, which listen, there's all sorts of rumor and innuendo with that. Karen Page, listen, she is a hot mess. I'm here for it. But you got to bring Foggy back. I think there's
back.
a lot of rumors of what. Yeah, well, it's not 100% confirmed.
It's not 100%, but the source is pretty damn reliable.
The big thing is, it's just like, what are we getting? Because this show was supposed to be a procedural with like White Tiger's dad on trial and Karen and Foggy maybe we're getting killed in the beginning. And the interesting thing is when Echo takes place, or Echo and Daredevil's fight takes place during the snap.
Yeah,
like they are fighting and half the world is gone.
Yep.
Which is like crazy. And I wonder, someone said this on Twitter, and I really wonder, because obviously Matt can hear heartbeats, he can all this stuff. Are you going to open the show with him hearing half the world's heartbeats stop?
Yeah.
Because if that's what you open it with, buckle up, kids. This show's can I swear on this podcast?
Fuck yeah.
This show's going to be massively fucked up if you just like, everyone's dead. Everyone's dead, Matt. And he's just like, fuck.
Kimberly, I'm not sure what you mean by the Fab Four. Are you thinking Fantastic Four? Because that is
the Defenders.
Or maybe the Defenders, yeah. I do know we're getting, supposedly, all the street level guys are all...
Well, we don't know about Iron Fist, man. I don't know if we're not getting him back.
Well, we're not going to get him back as Iron Fist, but
I don't know if we're getting that. We don't know about Iron Fist, Luke Cage. Jessica Jones, they said, was going to come back. Punisher is coming back.
100% on board. All they got to do is call her. So we'll see. I mean, I'm all for it. Bring it back. Bring them all. One big showdown after the snap. They can keep Iron Fist. Hey, the Iron Fist wasn't...
Daughters of the Dragon, bring them in. It's not...
Ooh, that's a
good one.
Yeah.
See, I went from not knowing shit about Marvel to knowing a couple of things. So.
There you go.
The biggest, most obvious thing that they left off of Maya for the TV show was the handprint that she wears in honor of her father. That was the biggest thing that I was like, where's the handprint?
I feel like they might be saving that. And I think like in a very, I feel like it's still going to happen, but I feel like it's going to be in a much more dramatized type of way. Very Marvel, probably some kind of epic, kind of an epic moment happening. Maybe it's like a flashback. Maybe it's one of her ancestors that, I feel like there's something, or maybe it might even be something that maybe her grandmother gives her. Or another member of her family, but I feel like, that's being held for a dramatic, maybe like she ascends to like the next step of superhero, kind of the next evolution of her superhero persona. So I feel like that's intentionally being held for a dramatic moment.
Yeah, I could see that. Like the final showdown with Kingpin.
Yeah, and then
Battle World, something like that, and just like let's just go. Sometimes you gotta throw that war paint on, man.
Yeah, I mean, and she wore that from the day her father died and the day he put his hand on her. She always had that. So that was like the most glaring thing to me. That was, why did they leave that out? But now Amanda's got me thinking like they're going to do something cool with it. They got to. And we'll see it in Daredevil.
Because I feel like it's such a dramatic build with other members of her family, especially I feel like it's going to be the grandmother because she's the one that has. Oh man, that'd be cool. Biscuits. I'd pop if it's biscuits. But I feel like it's either going to be her grandmother or Bonnie.
Bonnie, yeah, I can see it being Bonnie or her grandma.
Yeah,
because they have that spiritual connection.
So we already mentioned Matt Murdock, so we're skipping that part. Where they?
Well, can we give you our hot take about Matt Murdock on this show?
Hell yeah, absolutely.
He didn't need to be in it.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. But that fight scene was worth it.
It was cool. I don't know if it was necessary though, because it was
totally unnecessary, but totally worth it.
They shoehorned that in politely, even though it was a fun scene. politely they shoehorned it
Shoehorned
in.
it
Yes.
politely.
It's just like Kevin
I'm
Feige.
writing that down. That's now that's one of those things it's going to get said again on here.
It's like, excuse me, guys. I just like to shoehorn this
Shoehorn
fight
that
scene.
politely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I mean,
Like,
there could have
very
been a
quiet.
lot. They could have made it a lot more. They could have really gone over the top with it.
Yeah. Well,
And,
the original fight scene, I think, was like a 7-minute nonstop fight scene, but I think they cut it down because there's no way that was a full 7-minute fight that they
No.
showed us.
No, not at all. There's no way. So I feel like they could have been more grandiose about it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
USDN love a good hot take.
that's why I say politely shoehorned.
TFPN as a whole, we love our hot takes.
Yeah, we're gonna the politely shoehorning is now at the new emotional woodpecker of our podcast. So
you're welcome, everyone.
you can also use the phrase. Oh, well, no, I can't give that one away. It's Al's. I can't give it away. So
Yeah. Oh,
You know
I know where you're going with it. That might happen later.
yeah, I know. It's too good not to say. It's stage in her individual. Would she have really lived? I mean, he was killing everyone. No, because she's. Yeah, I understand that. Would she have lived? I think. That was our.
my bad. I lost everything in my ear, and I was trying to figure out what was happening. That is my bad, y'all.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I think that's why it proved that to Daredevil, to Kingpin, that she could hold her own and he could promote her for her father. After he killed her dad, he's like, oh, okay, I can just put you in. You're the cheaper replacement. And but I also think that's going to play into Daredevil Born Again, where somehow he remembers her and there's some sort of connection there and stuff like that. And maybe that's where we get the 7-minute fight scene.
Yeah.
It's got to be 94 episodes, so.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like, everything in my ear just stopped. I couldn't hear nothing. And I was like, well, I think something happened with my headphones. So I went to pull, and I didn't expect it to completely sound like a banshee screaming at y'all. But that's my bad. So
it's okay.
This would be our final difference here is, what did y'all think about them changing her power set in Echo? From her having just the ability to basically premonition into Echo to expect what's coming next and be ahead of it, to her actually having like a supernatural, like, superpower, I guess you could say.
I didn't object to it very much because it is the hard part about translating from comic to to a live action is there's some concepts that are that are easier to visualize, and sometimes you have to visualize, whereas in the comic it works. Like her original skill set worked in the comics, but if you want to translate that across, pretty much, Trevor, I agree with that. She's like a mutant, and I feel like there's a purpose behind this with the change in her powers. I feel like she's somehow going to tie to the X-Men, and we're going to see her as a as a mutant, if you are being considered in that regard. But I also think that it's Marvel, it's Feige. They're gonna do something to differentiate her from being while a great martial artist, another martial artist. And so I feel like they handled her abilities in a very tasteful way, that I think was respectful of her culture. I like that they tied it to the first Choctaw, that you got that lore. So they made it a very intriguing, kind of an intriguing. Oh, that's a good one, Kimberly, with the tie to Wolverine and Strikers program. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Trevor.
Yeah, she was basically a female Taskmaster.
Yeah, I've watched Black Widow about 4 times in the last 3 days. So, yeah, it's Taskmaster's thing.
Life with the daughter, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully it's one of these situations where her abilities will grow and maybe become more individualized, more unique to her as we move on with whether she's, obviously I think she's going to be in Daredevil, but if we get a season 2 of Echo or not, or we get to a point where she shows up, maybe like in Secret Wars or something, and she's got more evolved powers. Because that would be cool to see her and Kalahari together
On the screen at the same
on the
time.
screen at the same time. Although we've talked about whether we want Kalahari to move from animation to live action. We've heard different takes on that. So
Yeah.
What's y'all's take? Give us the hot take now. I'm all about it.
You want to go first, Bill?
Oh man, I have to remember a hot take from 3 weeks ago. I don't remember. I had for lunch.
Your hot take from like Meow.
From Meow is basically I am cool with them giving her own thing. I think the execution of it wasn't the best in the end, because they did this thing where they're like, she can pass it along to her grandma and Bonnie, and we had no rules based on her power. So it was like, okay, she can they are tied to the women of the Choctaw Nation, but like we don't know what her power is. It was like part of it's like she's a great so it's like she's a great strategist. She has this power. She does this. She does that. That's cool, but you gotta work it in a little bit more. It was like there is a truncated part of that finale that if you had let it breathe a little bit more and establish what her powers are, then you're like, cool. Now I know what's going on here instead of what it was. Like, I love the healing part, and I know Amanda and I were both like, that was cool, like when she does that with Kingpin, and now that's not really going to heal Kingpin. It's just like closing one door and he's going to open another of evil and disgust. But I thought that the powers were a little that's the Marvel of it.
Yeah, they were going to have to Marvel-ize her and make her fit into the Marvel the narrative at this point that we have. And so Kalahari, do I want to see her go from live action or animated to live action? I think if it's done well, I would be maybe okay with it, but I also do like the fact that we have this character that's animated as well, and there's a lot more freedom sometimes when you go in animation. I feel like just like I think it's kind of the same idea. Like if you go from like One Piece, right? You went from live action or animated series or anime series to live action, and in this case, it worked. Although I feel like it's going to be a challenge in later seasons because of everyone's abilities. You have to translate those from anime to live action, and I got a
feeling they're going to leave characters out because they're not going to have that ability to really.
Yeah, and I feel like with Kalahari, though, you have to be careful if you translate her to live action, where she has more freedom to have some pretty cool ways to manifest and show her abilities. She also has some abilities that are a little similar to, they remind me of very Scarlet Witch type of powers, and I don't know necessarily that we need another live action.
Here's the thing about that, though. She's going to be a big bad.
She is.
Zombie Wanda.
Yes.
So why not bring her into that?
Because Wanda has to heal the universe when she comes from underneath the rubble of Mount Wundagore, man. She's not done. Wanda's coming back. I think if you see Kahori, it's going to be as Echo sees it as a vision. And it's going to be whether it's in Daredevil, whether it's in, whether it comes to her, speaks to her in the multiverse or something like because we are in a multiversal saga, she's in a different time. So maybe there's some sort of interaction there, or Marvel just might leave her in What If. Like, I don't know if we're going to see Captain Carter in live action. We did, but I mean, nothing like as a headliner or anything. Are we going to see certain versions? Are we going to see the Happy Hogan, the Freak? Are we going to see that come out? No.
That one can stay animated.
Although, I think there's some that are going to stay animated, and I think Echo has to stand on her own because the show did get really good critical reviews, and it has got an audience. So I think Echo is where the money is, and you can't keep on Bill versus the MCU. We did a thing where we tallied like how many heroes there are. There's 75 different characters, and there's so many of them over the past 2 years that are just hanging threads. Hercules, Clea, Scar, so many. And now you're thinking of adding White Tiger, and now you're going to put a whole new Fantastic Four. It's almost like you could leave Kahori as a small Easter egg for fans of What If.
Yeah.
and then just leave that character
I don't
there.
know, man. I'm kind of liking the idea that she is a vision to
Yeah.
Echo
Yeah.
later. That to me is like, I'm like, ooh, Bill. I'm like, damn, like that's a good one.
Yeah, I got it. Blind squirrel finds nut. Broken clock is right twice a day.
That's a good one though. So I interpreted her powers as kind of like her sisters can go to any of them, because I mean, Grandma was whooping some ass, all right.
She was. She
And it's
was.
kind of like it
Let's go,
wasn't
Chula.
necessarily Maya's power. She didn't have that power at the time. It only goes to when it's the person that needs it. Her grandma needed some super strength, so Grandma got some super strength. Bonnie, she got the same. So that's the way I interpreted her powers. They give her what she needs when she needs it. So
It just makes you wonder if it's tied just to the bloodline, though.
that's the way I interpreted it. That it was tied to the
That was
blood.
that was yesterday's podcast, Amanda.
Yeah. That's true. This is true. Acknowledge him.
I see what you did there.
I won't.
I do.
I can't.
Acknowledge your tribal chief.
Although I'm tired of the fucking story, but that's neither here nor there.
I
Well,
know,
if
but I
you were
still love
tired of
Roman.
that, if you're tired of that story, you should hear Amanda's thoughts on the Bob Culture podcast, where she gives you a hot take about that.
I'll have to go back and listen to that one.
That's exactly why I said it that way.
So with that, let's roll right into the episodes. All these episodes, all 5 episodes, are named after one of Maya's ancestors that she draws her powers from. And I would like to note that the woodpecker that we discussed earlier is called a biskinik, and it symbolized the sacred bird of the Choctaw, and it only showed up when it needed to warn Maya that danger was coming. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Emotional woodpecker.
There it is.
Woodpecker's going to woodpecker.
Yeah, that is very
Yeah.
cool. That is very cool.
So episode 1 was called Chafa, which the ability that Chafa bestowed upon Echo was ferocity. And she's the original that rescued her people from the fallen cave in the very first flashback episode that we get in episode 1, which the flashbacks played an integral part in all 5 episodes. All 5 episodes had its own little flashback sequence that gave us something. So that was played by Julia Jones. Not sure if she's Native American or not, but
It was a very cool scene. I actually thought this was going to be Kahori. At first, I'm like, wow, they really prepped us with what if, and then not so much.
No, I was in the same boat as you in that first episode. I really thought, I'm like, wait, didn't I just see this? I'm like, damn, they're just really going to just drop her in what if, and then like, bam, Echoes. Here we go.
Yeah. I also like the fact that it wasn't too long of a flashback either. I think it was enough to, make you intrigued, but it didn't drag on. Like sometimes with flashbacks, they take up like half the episode.
You mean like in episode 1 of Echo?
Well,
I mean,
that was important though.
15
That
minutes.
flashback was important though.
Yeah. That 100% was. Yeah,
that's 100% important. It makes sense. If you're gonna take half the episode, at least be important. It's not like Boba Fett.
Still stings. It still stings.
Still hot take.
I'm glad you finally. Yeah, but like, there's only one person we know that likes that show, and it's neither of us.
Yeah, but I love Star Wars though. Obviously, my bread and butter.
Oh yeah, Star Wars. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But Book of Boba Fett though.
Coming down the road for Star Wars for sure.
I'm thankful that Echo went the route they did with the flashbacks and not the Boba Fett route. That's my take on that.
We don't say Boba Fett on this show. We don't mention it.
I didn't.
So let's. I know we're going to be cutting it close on time, so let's roll this through the episodes real quick. What was y'all's favorite thing from episode 1? Outside of that really cool opening flashback sequence.
Oh man,
I'm asking the hard questions.
You are. I actually, I liked seeing, kind of the experiencing like young Maya's, the challenges she had growing up. As being alone as a deaf child. Like I think you really opened, it really opened the door in terms of understanding why she connected with Kingpin the way that she did. And the fact that Kingpin could come across as being very paternal, I liked the insight into the relationship dynamic between the two of them, to where, it was so much more impactful when she shot him at that point, because you had that backstory. And I thought that was really, and of course, both actors were tremendous in these, the roles. Child Maya, all three, I should say. Child Maya, of course, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, Laqua Cox. They were fantastic, and I think that was something that it could have just been, oh look, she shot Kingpin, cool. It really delivered an emotional punch, getting that backstory and being in her shoes.
Imagine like how much more it took for her to pull that trigger, though, because that is essentially the guy that raised her. So.
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, like I said, I've watched Hawkeye a lot recently, and if you just watch it based off that, it's a cool, shocking moment, but it means more now that you've seen it in Echo.
Absolutely. What do you think, Jeff?
Me, I mean, the fight scene with Daredevil for me is what really, the opening scene, and then the fight with Daredevil, and then ultimately seeing her squeeze that trigger, and you could tell she was pained pulling the trigger when she did it, but also it was kind of like, that's what sets this whole thing in motion, and it also sets in motion what's going to happen in the when Daredevil opens up as well. So I mean, that was.
It's not my favorite fight scene in the show, though. I'll tell you that.
No, it's really not. But it was getting to see Daredevil again after a while off screen outside of She-Hulk. I was like, yeah, he's back. He's back.
I don't know. He was back when he did the Walk of Shame. I'll be honest with you. I felt that's very Matt.
That is very Matt Murdock. So episode 2.
I was also waiting for Amanda. I was like, I'm waiting for an Amanda thirst trap joke in there.
I was already,
you were
Charlie Cox. I was like,
miles away.
She was already dreaming. She was already in that.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking about that moment where I was like, he was right across from me. Hot little short king. He was in real life right across from me. I was in line to get my picture in full cosplay, my Ahsoka cosplay with Rosario Dawson and Ashley Eckstein, with my son. And all of a sudden, just curtain pops open, and I just hear Charlie Cox like a few feet in front of me, just going, "Oh, this is really what's everybody in line here for?" And just kind of, and people are telling him, and he's like, "Oh, you look great in cosplay." Of course, here I come with my phone. I'm just like, click. Thank you.
Full Irish accent, I'm sure too.
Oh yeah, he was just.
That only adds like 3 points, right?
Exactly. It was just only three. His height alone was enough for me. So I was like, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's about the same height as my little short king at home.
I now have a basis for everything I need to know.
So I'm just killing Bill over there, and this is what this is why I'm the co-host of the Socially Distanced, because I entertain Bill so much.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Oh, I'm dead. I'm deceased. Soul's left my body.
I seen it, and it was running pretty fast. So Loak brings strategy to Maya.
Oh, he's terrible too. So it's not just me. It's not just me.
To the podcast. Yep. Yep.
Oh.
So in this one, we get the flashback where they were in the Choctaw settlement in Alabama, which is, if you ever drove through Alabama, you can actually see Indian mounds all over the state. So it was really cool to see that.
Yeah.
And they're playing stickball instead of going to war with each other, and whoever loses leaves town. So what did y'all think of episode 2? Like what was the one scene in episode 2 that was like, that's the scene right there?
Oh man. I just love we get biscuits, and I'm happy with that. I love biscuits. He's great. He's great.
Can't forget Billy Jack.
Exactly.
Right,
the train scene was really neat, because you really feel like she was in danger when her leg gets crushed.
Oh, yeah.
Like I did not. I was like, I wasn't expecting it to get damaged the way that it was, and I was like, oh, like I'm like, okay, she's legit like in trouble here, and I was actually really anxious for a minute there, but I thought that was, I was like, way to go, good cousin for helping her out,
Ruining,
um,
mama's
and
truck.
yeah, I was like, oh, he is not. Oh, I was like, oh no, poor biscuits, don't go home, man.
Or had
Do
to
what you
go.
need to do. Do what you need to do with that truck. Don't go home. Don't let Chula see it. But I thought the train scene was really neat. I also really liked getting a sense of her family dynamics. I thought the storytelling was really, again, continued to be really well done here. And it just, again, I'm like, Biscuits was so great. I love Biscuits. I'm
He's
like,
great, man.
he's so great. Like you just everybody should have a cousin like Biscuits in their family.
Everybody does have a cousin like Biscuits in their family.
If you
If you
don't, you're
don't know who
missing
that
out.
is, it could be you.
This is, yeah. I can see that Bill being definitely the Biscuits.
That's me. For me, the best part was the
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I remember that. My favorite part is the fact we get the reveal of it, just like when they're like, "Oh, what did you steal?" And she's like, "I didn't steal anything." You're like, "What?" And then it's just like,
Yep.
"Let's blow up Kingpin's armory," and that I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. It shows you the strategy. It's already there, and so we're already who's Biscuits.
He's the cousin.
He's a cousin, and he's one of the great Marvel characters of all time.
He
He's
is
like
now.
on par with Lucky the Pizza Dog, but
Yes.
not quite there, in my opinion. But it just shows, like we were talking about strategy, and this is the whole thing with the scene in the beginning. It really ties well at the end, and it shows you that Maya she's not just a weapon, as Hawkeye was saying, is like we're both being used as weapons. She's super smart. So I really love that part of it.
I thought it was just fun watching her. I mean, she's just so sharp. But she's just like, here's it at the general store. Here's what you need to put together this bomb.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's
Well,
kind
he
of
didn't know
crazy.
he was buying stuff to make a bomb.
No, he had no clue. I think if any of us had gone, I would have been like, that's a lot of random stuff. And I don't think I would have put it together. Clearly, I'm the Biscuits here. So it's just like, I wouldn't have put it together. And,
Guys, clearly I'm the Biscuits.
Clearly, I'm the Biscuits here. Because I would have had no clue either that I was buying stuff to build a bomb. But just the fact that she just has that kind of uncanny knowledge and just that survival mechanism that comes from that training that she's had and everything. It's just that just that kind of crazy knowledge off the top of your head. Like I can, but I have the survival. I think it's just another neat way to show her ability to survive using whatever's around in her environment. Just even like with the skating rink kind of thing in the next, she was able to use the pieces from the skates
to make a gun.
And it's just, but those little nuances are so cool to see. And I think they're very underrated because it's like, not everybody can do that. Not everybody has that survival instinct to look at literally something like, oh, hey, there's a lamp. What can I make a weapon out of a lamp? What kind of resource can I make out of it or something, or like I've got a lamp and like this or around me. And she manages to pull it off. And I think this was a cool little, here's what's at the random general store or at the, the thrift shop. Here's a bomb.
Or Grandpa's thrift store. Grandpa's pawn shop.
Grandpa's pawn shop. It's not saying to go do that for everybody out there, but it's just the ability of like
a watch list if you do that.
I know, but just the innate ability to adapt and clearly think through and come up with a plan on the fly. It's cool to see somebody's mind work in that way.
I agree.
So my biggest ones was Madripoor was mentioned, which is a island off of Singapore that Wolverine visits, and they're known for bootleg stuff and other nefarious deeds.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier had an episode there.
Falcon and they actually went there. They actually show the island and everything. And then the scene where she gets her leg stuck is the first time that she uses her powers.
Yeah.
And she couldn't figure out what had just happened. Like, how did I get my leg out? And the other one that I want to point out was the crate that she put the bomb in, D9X. was Daredevil issue 9, 1999. Her first appearance in Daredevil.
Ha!
Look
So
at
a
that.
little nod there. I
Look
thought
at
it was
that.
pretty cool.
Very cool.
So episode 3, I know we're going fast, and I promised us we would be out of here at an appropriate time. And so far, we're doing okay. We're a little behind, but we're not doing too bad tonight.
We talk.
Oh, yeah. And we go off on we go on tangents a lot because they
No.
just come up. They just come up. It's fun.
It does, and but it works. It works. So episode 3 was, I'm probably gonna, was Tuklo, who offers her cunning abilities. And the flashback scene we get here is the silent film, which was, they introduced a group of native police called the Light Horsemen, which I thought was one of the coolest flashbacks we got.
Yeah.
I thought that was, and I love those old silent films. So, like, that was like my favorite episode. Like that was the flashback, the name of the episode, and then we get the roller rink scene in this episode. What'd y'all think?
This is a definitive scene. This is the hallway fight scene in Daredevil. This is like that moment you're going to go back to. First off, you want to warm my heart, you're going to play some Rob Zombie.
Yes.
Yeah, it just, and they picked Dragula, and
I was like, oh, some shit is going down.
Yeah, and they just play it like it's coming through, bleeding through the walls, which is really cool. Playing into playing with sound, which they did beautifully throughout the series. And that fight scene is the reason you get a TVMA, dude, because like she fucks some dudes up in the worst possible way, and I was here for that. And I think that's, you needed that to ground this series in that spotlight mantra into that Daredevil street levels thing. So, and I think you needed that. And but I also don't think it was a Daredevil ripoff. It was, this is Echo. This is her show, and this is what she does, and we're all like, "Fuck yes, this is why I paid a ticket to see this." He's asking, and a hell of an interview, I'll tell you that. Still, I was once warned when I interviewed him. They're like, "Do not talk about movies. You should only talk about music." I was like, "Why is that?" And they're like, "Because he will only talk about movies." I'm like, all right. So
great
that
concert,
was a lot of fun.
by the way.
Yeah, one of the few I've ever shot, and I accidentally got a few good pictures. So.
Hey, there you go. But yeah, that scene was just so iconic. I really feel like it really established her as a badass in her own right. Just straight up, just the brutality, the ruthlessness. Like it was like, hell yeah. It's not something that you see so much. Like I feel like Marvel sometimes pulls back, at least Marvel Disney, I should say, pulls back when it comes to
back in this scene.
No, but I feel like for some of the female characters and heroes, they do pull back. Even though yes, they like they kick ass. It's just you don't see the level of just gritty violence that you do here. And it was so cool to just see that they just let her just go at it. And again, the cool part was watching that whole weapon from the skate. That was cool.
Made with ball bearings and
I was like,
truck off the bottom of the skate. I was like, that is legit.
But it's like you don't mess with Echo, man. Like I was like, well, if I ever get into a fight, I'm calling her. Like it was so well done, and really, I think just kicked into gear who she is and the fact that she's holding back. She could be capable of so much more destruction, and her power is insane. And then so you have that raw ability on top of, now you add superhero powers to it. It's pretty terrifying and cool.
And that internal rage that she's been holding, and all of a sudden it's like, click, and it's on, and everybody's done. But then they get the phone call, and this is what really confused her, is when the phone call came, and they were going to get to live. So then that's when she's like, wait, how in the hell did that just happen? And of course, her uncle's like, there's only one person that makes that phone call, and for us not to be dead right now. And that's when I think it really dawned on her that she didn't kill Kingpin in that episode. So that to me was like my one moment in that episode where I was like, oh damn, Kingpin's still kicking.
They should never have showed him earlier, though. They should
No.
have left it hanging.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
they show him a few times. They show him once too often. And I think it deadened it a little bit for me. But it's such a Kingpin move to be like, no, I'll do it. And you're like, okay, we get it. You're going to take care of this game. Because that's what he does, man. That he always does this weird shit where you're like,
Mhm.
like, just let him do it. Like
Yeah.
he had the whole scene with Punisher. He's just like, hey, you survived. I guess I can work with you, you know? And that's kind of the thing. He's like, all right, you survived this. You can be part of my team now. Which is so on brand for Kingpin.
This is true.
Daddy issues.
You have the opportunity to kill him, but you're just like, you know what? If you can survive that, I got a spot for you right here.
Yeah.
So,
the lesson here, always double tap. Finish your job. Make sure you finished your job.
So many ways that can go.
yes.
Politely.
Respectfully.
Yes.
A lot to do with
In a gentlemanly manner. So with that, let's keep it rolling. We're on a roll. Episode 4, Taloa, which I really like this name. And Taloa gives her the gift of love. And in this flashback, we get it takes place in 2008 when Kingpin beats the ice cream vendor to death. And then so this shows, like, that one scene alone shows that he was in power and doing his thing long before there was ever an Iron Man, and long before the Avengers ever assembled. The Kingpin was doing his thing and really running the show, even though he's not seen as a threat, which he should have been.
Yeah, it's funny how that all comes together, where it's just like Kingpin was just running the city, and no one really did anything. But it's just like,
Exactly.
I agree with this hot take.
I don't.
Ish. Like I
think I think Kingpin showing up, making the call, and then him having the scene where they pan over and it's dead silent, and there is this hulking mass of a human being just standing there like he is a monster. And I thought that was perfect. That's why they gave too much away of him. For him to, if he just had the phone call and and then it just like you cut back a little bit on him in flashback, and then it's just like, hey man, I'm here now. I'm Frankenstein's monster because I'm back. And then there you go. I think that works a lot better. And I think you needed him there to be pissed off. I think you needed him there to get healed. And I think you needed him to be like, New York, just like that's not even Kingpin at this point. It's just like he's going to run for mayor of New York. So, I mean, I think you needed him there.
I think you did, but like you said, Bill, less is more. I think that scene could have been trimmed. I agree with you. That scene could have been trimmed with him being kind of just showing up out of nowhere, kind of big and hulking. I think yes, you did need the emotional moment that we're talking about with the hammer, the story of the hammer.
Yeah,
you did need that.
That was my
really
big takeaway from this, is the story with the hammer and him showing it to her, and then promise her and her like her own empire if she comes home.
It's also a different hammer, but
people
get really mad at it. A lot of people got mad about that, and I was like, hammer. You want to make it up? Listen, Marvel, you want to make it up to me? Bring Justin Hammer back in live action.
Yes, there you go.
They did in What If?
Live action. I need Sam Rockwell.
I mean, yeah, that is definitely a difference, but still.
But
my favorite scene here in this whole episode is the kitchen confrontation. It is Marvel sometimes knows how to hit you right in the heart, and that's one of them. And like it is, you're seeing Maya, and the beautiful thing about the American Sign Language of it all is you're getting like almost a triple performance, because Maya is saying the words, but she's also signing, and there's also a physicality to the whole thing. So it's like so much more impactful to me someone who does not see American Sign Language in his life as that often, it just really grabbed me, and it made it more of an emotional journey. And I'm here for that, because it was just such a beautiful scene. Like, it's tragic and it's sad, but it's beautiful that these two women are really finally talking and getting everything out, and eventually it does resolve stuff. But that felt like a real family drama, a real human moment. It's not just like a Norse god talking about losing his parents, like, which is sad, but he's also Thor. This is an everyday human being who lost her
Everything.
mom.
And
And
that.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
but I'm saying her mom died in a car accident.
Mhm.
And that's something that happens every day in the world.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we then found out that, like, brakes were cut by Kingpin, blah, blah, blah. But at that moment, it's just like, and then the resentment from the grandma, that's all real. That's not comic book.
Yeah.
That's real life.
Yep.
And that's what made this series so great.
And that was my one scene, was that scene in the kitchen between Maya and her grandma. That really was like, we needed that scene. Maya needed that scene.
We did. I felt like it was a good counterbalance to the Maya that we saw in the last episode. The angry, killer instinct, ruthless Maya. This was a vulnerable Maya. This really, I feel like, kind of brought her character full circle in that, she's not just someone who's full of rage. There's a reason. And there's a lot of hurt and a lot of, there's a lot of pain in her. And even hearing from Chula about, the birth of her daughter, that was, it was a different perspective, and it really put into play just, it's not only just Maya who's lost family, but it is her family also that is suffering. Like, her grandmother lost her daughter. And I think to be able to have that explanation about how hard Chula worked to bring Taloa into the world, they were able to bond over that. It's both of them had a different relationship with Taloa, and both of them were able to unite and heal, and they share the same loss. And so, Bill, like, to your point, the sign language and the intensity of the body movements and the language, and just, even like watching them, like, I cried because you just were, it
That was one of those
really
moments.
double layered. Yeah, it double layered the impact, like you said. Copy and paste it.
No, that was one of those moments.
It's not the saddest moment, though, for me.
No, but it was one of those where you're like, you find yourself, I'm good. I don't know what y'all talking about.
Somebody's cutting onions in the kitchen.
Let's not talk about the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and how I embarrassed myself sobbing in the movie theaters. But yeah, that happened. Because the scene in episode the finale with the mom in the workshop, that's the one.
Oh, that one messed me up.
So let's do that. Let's hit episode 5.
Yeah.
So episode 5 is actually named after Maya, and we get the flashback to when she's a kid and she kills the woodpecker, and then her mom teaches her, like, hey, we don't do that. We don't hurt living things, which is a soul contrast to what she grew up to become. But then she uses her healing powers to bring the bird back, which that was another one of those, like, emotional scenes you see between her and her mom, and her going through her growth and really healing herself, whether she's realizing it or not. So, what y'all think? Let's hear it. Let's roll episode 5.
Oh man, I'm with Bill. The scene with her mom just messed me up.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
Episodes where you get a tear-jerking scene and you're like, damn, why they gotta do me like that?
But it was so necessary.
I'm grown.
It was.
Why am I crying?
It needed for Maya to get that final bit of closure, to get that catharsis, to actually leave the streets behind and embrace who she is, and then truly accept the gift from her ancestry. And I think that's what you see every woman in those things and those flashbacks were. It was their time to accept their power. And I think it's pretty rad. And sometimes you got to go through that passing of the torch, especially since all the power ran through the women of the family. We did not see her dad in a flashback anywhere.
Right.
We saw her mom, and so she had to pass it down to her. So it was like that passing of the torch moment that needed to happen. And you often don't see that in superhero or comic book based things. It's always the dad, whether he's handing it down to the daughter or the son. But the mom, that's really important.
It's
So
one of those tropes that they flipped and it worked perfectly.
well, I mean, except for Superman and Batman, but
Yeah.
but I mean, and also her name is Martha too. Worst lines in history, guys. Our Batman by the Numbers podcast was almost called Martha the podcast. So,
Dude, that would have worked so well, though.
yeah, I know. So yeah, but man, I tell you, it's like you needed to go through it, and we all needed to go through it. But again, like I said, Amanda and I said earlier, it was the marvel of it in the end kind of hurt a little bit. But man, the suspense built up through the powwow scene through the drums was pretty.
Bro, that was when she comes in with like the dancers. I was like, oh damn, she's coming in right in front of their faces, and they don't even see her. Like, this is gonna be good.
Well, and for her to keep and what I've loved throughout the series are the nuances, the attention to detail, and the fact it was, and again, very subtle in a way, but she's keeping up with all of the powwow dancers, and she can't hear. That's that like to keep in step and to rely on other senses to keep with the movement.
So I grew up with a deaf uncle, and he was one of the best dancers I ever met in my life. But it was the vibrations and in the music that allowed him to be able to do that. And I always thought, I remember, like, as I got older, I would go to the club and pick him up because he couldn't drive or anything. So I'd literally drop him off, go to work, pick him up when I would get off work. And I would walk in and be like, where the hell's my uncle? And he'd be on the dance floor. And I'm like, okay, I see you, uncle. Like, we got to go, though. I'm tired. But yeah, it's really cool because they can actually sense the beats and the vibrations, and they know like what step they need to be on. And so
I thought that was it was a really neat perspective, because it is, you go from being able to hear to her point of view, and you really kind of get I feel like having those moments helped you connect with Maya more, because you got a taste of her world. And even just, kind of the other smaller things, such as, like the scene with Chula and Scully, where they kind of reconcile a little bit. That was a really sweet moment.
When she went to pick up the sewing machine.
Green. Oh man, the sexual tension between those two.
It was
palpable.
I was like, "Ooh,
every meeting they had, it was there." But in that last episode, it was like, Jesus Christ, y'all get a room.
I know. I was like, whoa.
I don't think he needed a room.
No.
He's got his own pawn shop, man. He's got a back room back there, I'm sure.
Graham Greene could do no wrong. It's great.
He is amazing.
He's so charming. He's so charming. Just.
I bet you he would love to hear that.
Hey, if he ever hears this, he's one of those guys when he shows up in a movie, he's going to be spot on.
Oh, and I loved it. Good. I loved it. That scene was, and it was a nice, because it was a nice way to jump into the episode and continue moving into it, because it's going to get intense at the end. So I think just having a little bit of a moment where there's a little bit more of a positive energy coming, because again, there's quite a bit going on. It's nice to see that nice touch of healing continue.
But also the only dude who gets involved in anything is the one uncle who owns a roller rink, and he like kills the guy in the most comic way possible. So I'm like, I'm all right with that. Oh, and Biscuits murders everyone.
I was here for Biscuits all the way.
Grandma's truck, man. I swear, that boy's in.
I'm there for Biscuits any day of the week, especially if it's Thanksgiving. But I was happy the character did it. So
I know, that was so great. Biscuits had his own moment where it's just that was awesome.
Biscuits doing biscuits, man. I loved it.
Like, again, if I treasure the biscuits in your lives, people. That's all
Exactly.
I say.
And if you don't know who Biscuits is, you're the Biscuits. But so this series, like every other series before it, though, the character didn't get her suit into the final episode. So I mean, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was the last episode when he got it. So I mean, this one followed that same trope that, well, we're not seeing her in her full get up until like episode 5, and we got that here, and we got it in like the most beautiful way possible, with her mom giving it to her.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was appropriate because you've been building the with the flashbacks, the narrative that, you know, that this the telling the culture story and telling, you know, how Echo was passed to each. It's just it. This was very appropriate in that the story, the flashback story and narrative culminated in such a beautiful way.
It did. It really did. So some of the I've seen some after the final battle scene takes place. It was like Maya and her stunt double, and they had actual face tattoos. So all the face tattoos that they were given, I don't know if it was just for the final battle or if she was supposed to have them throughout, which is something that she didn't have in the comic book anyway. But there was pictures from the final battle where they had these face tattoos, and they were edited out later. So I thought that was something really cool that I'm like, that would have been kind of cool to see though in that final battle with like the traditional, like, you know, face paint and that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I think they missed a good moment there that they could have had something really unique.
They could have, but then again, you know, her most iconic is the handprint. And so,
Yep.
you know, would you want to take away from that?
No, and that's why I'm kind of glad they did, even though I was like, I seen the pictures, I was like, oh damn, that's so badass.
It's a little bit of a hat on a hat. You know, she's got the important thing was the outfit. It wasn't the other things, and it was the outfit. It was the powers. Then you're going to add face paint tattoo. It, like, I think it's still just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So one final note on this one: when Maya uses the healing powers on Kingpin, it echoes his past, and it brings him to the cracked wall, to the painting that looked like Vanessa's painting, and that callback between those two things that tied really like the Daredevil season and Echo season to kind of together in that one little brief moment with that painting and the cracked wall. So I thought that was a really cool, like, little, let's throw this nickel in there and see how many people pick up on this one. So I thought that was a really cool one to put in there.
Yeah, it was a great moment for sure.
Yeah.
I really think that it's something that if you hadn't seen it, it's so shocking to you, and you're like, oh my god, what is this? And you get it through the noises and through the wall, the hammer, and all that stuff.
This dude Googling, I was like, that looks familiar.
And then I just watched it a year ago, so I knew. But for those, if you know, it's like if you know, you know. And it wasn't a fan servicey thing. It was a coldly earned moment because that is his mind palace. It's not an empty Claire's. It is actually his childhood home, where he heard his father abusing his mother, you know, and that's really hard.
He didn't abuse his father. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and
he took a hammer to him.
Well, I mean, the guy was a dick. So I mean, like, I didn't feel too bad, but a little patricide here and there. Not advocating it, only in comic books. But yeah, I think it was perfect. And then when we ended, you can't ask for a better ending.
Oh, I know. The ending was. Ooh.
So did you recognize the reporter?
Yeah, no, I didn't recognize the reporter at all until I read it somewhere. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was my thought. I'm like, the reporter's familiar. And then I was like, when I was writing this, I was like, oh, damn, that's why they're so familiar. So I thought that was kind of another one of those nickels they throw in for you. You're like, see, I like when they do that stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well,
But I mean, I love the him running for mayor. It's one of his big storylines.
yeah.
I don't think Matt's going to be the lieutenant mayor. I don't think they're going to go with that route. But man, that leaves a lot of fertile ground for them to work with. So I think it's a great place, and it gives leeway for Maya to come back. Obviously, Matt's going to be involved, and then you still have it's New York City.
Mhm.
You have all the Defenders and the Punisher
That's not all
and
you got up there. I mean, you got
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man up there, all his
Yeah.
battles with Kingpin.
I mean, well, that's a political thing. That's like Sony
Yeah.
and contracts and shit. But there's plenty of characters that live in New York City that can easily show up and do some damage. And I'm curious to see how it all ties together. I don't know how this all ties into a multiverse saga. Do I think they know what's going to happen?
No,
I think there's some
but I think they're
alterations
figuring
being
it
happened.
out.
Well, and does it need to tie into the multiverse saga at this point? Like, I mean,
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't,
Yeah.
but
But it'd
I-
be kind of fucking cool if it did. I think that's how the
I mean,
answer
we're
is.
sitting here thinking like, who's going to be the next big bad? Are they going to flush King down the toilet and go ahead and
No.
bring in Doctor Doom? But I mean, we got a big bad right here with Kingpin.
Which is so it's like the whole battle world of it all. I think is the question is like this is where everyone kind of like all the multiverses collide, and here's where things happen.
Yeah.
And man, Daredevil he was a huge part of Secret Wars. He's a
Yeah.
huge part of all of the big events, and he hasn't been. So for him not to be involved, it could happen. Kind of cool if he did. Like imagine like just Matt Murdock and Deadpool just like fall through a warp, a black hole, and it's just like, all right, we're here. Let's do some things, And I kind of think that's how the Secret Wars is going to be.
Yeah.
And so let's throw them in. I mean, not everyone has to go.
I guess I have my reservations because of the way
It's
that
very
the whole
ambitious.
phase that, and I feel like this phase has not been well executed. I think if you had asked me maybe earlier on with a little bit more well structured phases, I would have been a little bit better about like, okay, yeah, like that'd be cool to incorporate, Kingpin in this and this kind of this more street level, kind of style of show we're getting here and kind of series. I think I'm like, I just worry that unless the next phase is stronger in terms of cohesiveness and how it's all coming together and that it moves the story, that the Daredevil franchise, if you will, would become just as disjointed
Yeah, I
on a
see that.
smaller scale. So that's kind of my only like, because the way it is right now, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a great setup so far. Again, they've dropped in. Here are some of the shows that are the Netflix shows that are part of the canon now. I think you've got this cool little world building happening, and it's just I hope that it continues to be a strong build versus again kind of where we've been with this phase where you have all these different running pieces, but they have not fully come together like you would hope, like what we've been used to in other Marvel phases.
Yeah, but the way they're piecing it together though is starting to make sense, and you're starting to see those pieces go together the way that
At the end of the phase, though, nearly that's the hard part.
we're gonna have to wait for it, but it's at least hopefully they know what the hell they're doing, and it's gonna fall into place, unlike some of the other stuff we've seen.
Bill's favorite.
Which one?
Secret Invasion.
Fuck. Oh man, I don't hate it as much as Alex, but
Secret Wars took place behind Secret Invasion in the comic book. It happened concurrently. That's why you were always seeing people disappearing and coming back and disappearing again. So, yeah, it was a whole thing. It was a mess, even for the comic books to keep up with. So with that, guys, final shots and thoughts before we close it down.
Echo's great. Go back and watch it. Tell your friends. I mean, like this was the one. Like everyone's down on Marvel. Everyone's like, "It's over, brother." It's not. This one got their act together, and I think I believe this is the beginning of a new era and some really cool stuff. So go check it out. I gave it a high rating, but Amanda, you were much higher than me on it.
Yeah, this is how you tell a story in 5 episodes.
Yes.
The pacing of the episodes was great. Although, yes, that we had the marvel of it all initially, but once the story went, it went. And we saw this issue with a lot of other Marvel shows, with the exception of Wanda and Loki. I feel like the storytelling was either too long or just, the episodes were too short. Just the pacing of stories was not very consistent. And here, beautifully done. You have a great narrative with a great build for a character. Thank you, Black Mac. Thank you for your comments and everything. It's been an awesome
It always makes
experience.
it feel better.
Thank you. It does. And you appreciate your support. And yeah, just the cinematography was beautiful. The music was on point. You had so many different moving pieces, but they all came together. You had the family story, you had her backstory, you had her kick-ass moments. I thought for 5 episodes, this was a very, very strong series, and this is the series that people were waiting for. If you loved Wanda, if you loved Loki, you were like, I needed something very intense. This was great. I very much enjoyed it, and it made me excited about Daredevil because I was nervous with everything you're hearing coming out about it. This made me feel better. If this is even like a fraction of how great Daredevil is going to be, I'm here for it.
I'm with you. Yeah. So for me, it was one of those. To sum this whole thing up, it got flack that it didn't deserve. I for one thoroughly enjoyed it. I know people were complaining, well, it's a spotlight series. Other people only got an hour. They're giving her 5 episodes. But it's 5 episodes that worked. And if each episode played off the next one and into the next one. So for me, I was like, this is it for me. I'm like, this is how it should be done. It's short, it's sweet. You can watch it in a day. But it all flows beautifully together. And it's got me excited again for Marvel. That was my biggest thing. It has me excited again for Marvel. Which Loki Season 2 did as well.
Yeah.
So.
But this is the one where I didn't have the established character in the lead like Loki. So This is why they needed it to work. It was an original property. Yeah, you had Kingpin, you had Daredevil. But we were going to see if this character can do it, and it did.
So with that, Bill and Amanda, both of you, tell us where we can find y'all and what days we can find y'all.
Amanda, why don't you start us out?
All right. Well, of course, I know Bill's has got quite a bit to close us out on, so I like to leave him. He does fantastic openings and
I just do the
endings.
business end, man. I just do the business
but
end.
You do like really good openings and closings. So I'm like, I can't even like match half the Bill energy here. So it's like you have to settle for me first, and then you get the good performer.
That's the secret.
Not anymore, but it's mostly it's just like half a Coke Zero and just a whole lot of prayers. So.
It's like caffeine and prayers. There it is. But for me, you can find me at Amandalorian on Instagram and Threads, and at Resner's Chick on X. Yes, I am a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, so that's where my handle comes from. Nine Inch Nails stand forever. And of course, I'm one of the co-hosts of the Socially Distanced podcast along with Bill. You can check us out every Friday on all streaming platforms. So we talk about probably everything on Disney Plus for sure. We're definitely going to diversify too. We're diving into the Netflix realm, which we did recently with Rebel Moon, and that was an experience. That was an experience.
That's a healthy heaping of butt soup right there,
man. There it is.
That was a good episode, though.
Yeah, we definitely enjoyed it, but we talk about different Marvel shows, Star Wars, different movies that are out. We dive into revisiting a lot of different content. We're looking at revisiting the Matrix this year because it's 25 years old. I'm not ready for that. To acknowledge that is even that old. But anyway, remind me of my mortality, right? But yeah, we have just a cavalcade of fun guests, and it is a lot of fun. There's always something random that happens.
Starting in 2025, you now have to cover Raw for BC.
No thanks. Maybe the premiere.
I don't know. Bill's got quite a bit to say about WWE. So go watch us on the Bob Culture podcast.
I was fairly positive about it.
I surprisingly. Normally you have at least a connection, but we got original singing. So
you got the connection on the
this is
title
true.
match.
This is true. So go back and check that out, Bob Culture podcast. We were both on that here yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. And the other podcast that I'm a co-host for is Anime Pop with my co-host Josh Sarnecki, and that is available on the Pop Break TV feed. And we cover every month the most popular anime that's happening, what's happening in the world of the news in terms of anime, and then also recommendations from our different guests. So yeah, Black Mac, you definitely should check out our Matrix episode.
Yeah, we're gonna make our other host, Al, he's had to step back a little bit, has never watched it. He owns it on DVD. He's never watched it, so we're gonna make him watch it. So
that is our job too. It is must watch. So Bill.
Oh, as for me, I am Bill Bodkin, editor-in-chief of thepopbreak.com. We've been doing this 15 years this September. Check us out every single day. Film, music, television, pro wrestling, anime, comic books, digital trends. We're doing it all. We've got articles. We've got podcasts. We're covering concerts. I think we're at a concert right now. We're covering that. If I'm not there, no, it's Dinosaur Jr. I'm definitely not there. So we have a whole bunch of great stuff. Check out Socially Distanced every single Friday. Amanda's podcast, Anime Pop, is on the Pop Break TV feed. Like I said at the top of the show, I'm also one of the panelists on TV Break, which is our monthly look into the world of television. I am the Bill and the Bill versus the MCU podcast, which is our Marvel First Watch for me and rewatch for my co-host Alex. That's over on Pop Break today. But most importantly, follow us on all forms of social media at the Pop Break, except for YouTube. We're at popbreak.com, all spelled out. You're a big wrestling fan. You could check out Timeless Tony Storm calling out Wendy Richter, which is still one of my favorite things. Thousands of people have found it. So be one of the many who have. And if you must follow me on Twitter, I am at Bodkin Writes. So thank you for having us, Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you for giving us clearance to be on the USDN. And we look forward to returning both as a dynamic tag team. We might not be the Flocking Brawlers, but God damn it, we'll put up a good fight. Go follow Brandon Weiss and Casey Blackrose somewhere on the World Wide Web.
Follow Amanda. She posts plenty of his content there.
They don't have a shared Instagram account. I'm telling you, don't have a shared Instagram account.
It feels that way because
actually we do. We actually have a shared couples cosplay, but we cosplay together, so that's part of it.
Couple that cosplay together stays together.
Yeah. Well, our whole family. I
told my wife that. She'd be like, "Get the fuck out of here."
So for Bill.
Except for Bill.
With that, everybody, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to our episode on Marvel Echo. Watch the USDN page for more updates. I'm going to be taking next week off because I got a lot of stuff to put together. I got an episode edit from last week. I got this episode. So I'm going to take some time, put together some reels, drop some episodes on the Spotify, and do all that behind the scenes work that make podcasting so much fun. Once again, a big thank you to Bill and Amanda and the crew from Socially Distanced and the Pop Break. As always, I want feedback, y'all guys out there. Leave us some feedback in the comments below this video on Facebook. Let us know how we're doing over here at USDN. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that button to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends over at the DFPN Network. And on behalf of myself, Bill and Amanda, and the Council of Nerds, this show here is USDN approved.
It's a trap!